Beijing, China's capital and its cultural nerve center, a modern metropolis with traditional roots. And now it becomes the first city in the world to host both Summer and Winter Olympics. After 14 years, the biggest sporting extravaganza returns to Beijing. Thousands of athletes from around the globe will compete in over 100 events at 3 zones. Cheered on by over 1.4 billion Chinese citizens and millions abroad. CGTN will bring you a ringside view of the historic event. 2022 Beijing Olympics, the games that matter on CGTN. See the difference.
Hello and welcome to the Winter Games Express, coming to you live from our 5G studio on a moving bullet train. I'm Serena with the CGTN, and in this special live streaming segment, we will bring you the latest from the competition venues, as well as break down all the competitions from the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics. And first, a very quick introduction of the bullet train we are on. Just like any other high-speed rails in China, this one drives fast. And this one shuttles between Beijing and Zhangjiakou, the two co-host cities, as well as two competition venues for the Winter Olympics. And the train sends athletes, journalists, and other related staffs back and forth. And of course, thanks to the 5G signal provided on the train, that helps make our live streaming available. And as we are entering the 6th day of the Winter Olympics today, we're going to talk about competitions that has been held in the Yanqing zone. And I'm happy to be joined by a winter sports amateur / business commentator, Mr. Qu Qiang. Do you want to say
Hello.
hi to the viewers?
Hi.
And also join us online are my colleague Hu Zhicheng, who's currently at the Yanqing zone inside the Olympic closed loop system, and also a volunteer from the games, bringing us a different experience for the games. Okay, so alpine skiing, skeleton, bobsleigh, these are very popular winter games worldwide, but still new here in China. But thanks to the Winter Olympics, that people, including me, will get to have the opportunity to get familiar with it. So what exactly is alpine skiing? Let's take a look at a video real quick. Well, welcome back again. We are live from our 5G studio on a moving bullet train. So if you have any questions, comments, just leave your messages on all of our social media platforms. Okay, so Mr. Qu Qiang, thanks again for joining us today.
You're welcome.
I know you are really good at all these winter sports. So I have a question. So to you, what alpine skiing is, and is it difficult?
Oh yes, it's actually the jewel on the crown of the Winter Games. It's been originated in the Alps region, majorly Switzerland, and the people used to hunt in that region, and they have to ski and chase for the prey. And then you will see with the vertical drop in the Alps region, and then you ski downwards with that velocity, with that adrenaline rush, and people find, wow, the skiing is actually more exciting than chasing the prey. So then become a sport. And that is very, very difficult. So for the alpine skiing, well, from the name you can tell, you have to rush down the slope with a very, very large vertical drop, and you are going to see, and they have the flight gates, and you have to go through all these gates in S-shaped route. And you cannot miss any of this gate. If you miss the gate, you will lose their quality to join the competition. And here is a very, very large contradiction in this kind of a competition. That is the skill and the speed. Well, you have to see the speed, the shortest one with the shortest time will be the champion. So you have to go through the shortest route. But with the shortest route, you have to turn the sharpest, probably the most smooth turn. And it's very hard to control the speed. Well, I have another picture in here.
Wow.
So if you go through this route and then you have to take a very, very sharp turn in here, it means the velocity at this point is to be very, very large. And well, of course, you can choose an easier way. You can take a larger turn in here and have a slower speed, safer, controllable. But, well, you can say you will not win the game.
Exactly.
So you have to do a very delicate balance. And in the ski, you have to understand one contradiction is that if you want to turn, you have to decelerate. If you have to win, you have to accelerate. But you will see the Super G and the Giant Slalom, they require speed and also turn. So how can you do this? So we'll see this is actually very, very difficult. Even in the top world-class competition, most of the most excellent athletes, they wouldn't even complete the game.
Yeah.
So
well, this sounds, at least sounds challenging to me, because it's sort of like a sport you have to balance between your speed as well as the turns or all the tricks you're gonna do, how to balance these two, right? I mean, it sounds challenging to me.
Oh yes. So when you see you go through this entry point here, you accelerate. When you hit this angle, and then you have to turn because you have to go through this gate and aiming at the next one.
I see.
But when you want to turn, you have to flip your ski board. So we call it carving. So you have to carve. You have to carve into the snow and then use this velocity and the friction to change your direction. The faster you are, the bigger friction and the power you get. And then you have to respond with the power and then turn.
Right.
And but please remember, this only happened within probably 0.1 second, because from one gate to another gate in the world-class top competition is only 1 second in the total.
Wow.
So just consider about this. 150 kilometers per hour at that speed. Probably you wouldn't have any idea about this. You probably drive a car on the highway. If you drive at 150 kilometers per hour, it's very hard to control the steer.
Yes.
But now you have to control your direction with your bare foot.
It's like pushing a human limit.
Yes, we're talking about 3G or 4G of the acceleration. It's more than normal people's tolerance of the body.
Of course, we're gonna talk that in details later, especially when it comes to, how to control your speed while you still get to go to reach the destiny as fast as you can. Well, anyway, now I'm gonna go to my colleague Hu Zhicheng, who is currently at the Yanqing competition zones, who is joining us online. Hello, Zhicheng, how are you?
Hello, thank you for having me.
Sure. So, how's the Olympic experience so far? And do you want to share some, news with us? The latest news coming from the competition zones where you're at?
Well, the races here are brilliant. Living conditions good and dining options okay, but you cannot really tell the story of the Winter Olympics without mentioning the weather. It's really cold here, and covering Olympic events in freezing temperatures brings its challenges. I have all winter gear to keep my body and feet warm, but my cell phone and my laptop are not good for cold weather. If I'm not covered enough, the battery life could drop rapidly without warning from 40% to 0, which could potentially cause big trouble for me. So I'm still working on it. And meanwhile, I've been here for about over a week now, but I'm still getting used to the schedule of the shuttle buses. There's one loop that runs every 15 minutes at certain times of the day, but runs every hour at the other times. And the tough part is that the schedule varies from day to day. So sometimes I have to wait much longer than expected for shuttle services in cold weather, which is not so comfortable. But on the plus side, I took every occasion to chat with my fellow Olympic reporters, staff members, and officials when we were all waiting for the bus to arrive, and many of us became good friends along the way. So that's not so bad.
So just wear as much layers as you can. Keep warm,
Yeah.
please. And what's the latest? What's the latest from your competition zone?
In the National Alpine Skiing Center, we have already seen men's downhill, men's Super G. In the coming days, we're going to see Alpine combined slalom, giant slalom, and mixed in parallel event. And bobsleigh, skeleton, and luge events is contested at the National Sliding Center, the first sliding track built in China.
Well, since you are at the scene, you're so lucky to witness all these games at the site. So, is there any interesting stories or interesting figures you want to share with us?
Well, a few days ago, I had a chance to do a face-to-face interview with Danny Japa, Albanian's only representative at the Beijing Winter Olympics. He told me he only received the news to come to China in January, and his first reaction was, "What's going on?" He shared many interesting tidbits with me, like his childhood adventures on the slopes, his close relationship with his elder brother and coach, and his thoughts on Chinese food, Chinese culture, and the pressure of carrying the hopes of whole nation. After the interview, I asked him, "What's your plan tomorrow?" She said, "NBC just called me." Well, she's really a man of the moment, right? And I took great pleasure in conducting this interview with Danny, not only because he's a very polite, patient, and humble athlete, but also because personally I have a close association with Albania. Now, my major in college is Albanian language and culture. I have many classmates who lived in Albania, and I also spent my honeymoon in Albania.
Wow.
So the country is fantastic with incredible people, entertainment, and full surprises. I highly recommend all of you to visit this beautiful place when the pandemic is over. I sound like an Albanian tourism ambassador, right?
You do, but do they enjoy their times here in China as well?
Yes, he's very enjoyed the time here. He says he liked the dumpling and steamed buns. He liked the Chinese breakfast, the Chinese dinner. He really loved it.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of stories coming from the competition venues that a lot of athletes are either falling in love with the Chinese dumplings or, Chinese calligraphies. It's also another opportunity to actually boost the Chinese culture amid the Winter Olympics Games, I think. Well, another question, the latest defending Olympic champion, Michaela Schifrin, crashes out of giant slalom on her first run. And while she's speaking to media, she said, "I won't get over this." It sounds like a competition like this would be affected by various factors, isn't it?
Yes, Schifrin is one of the most decorated skiers in history. She's a two-time Olympic champion, a four-time world champion. So to the utter shock of everyone, including reporters and volunteers and staff at the National Alpine Skiing Center, she failed to complete either of her two races so far due to a couple of huge errors. It's very surprising, very shocking. And, yesterday she has, I don't know if you ever noticed, she has remained sitting on the ski hill after being disqualified for a long time and cried in public. She said it's not the end of the world, but she's apparently devastated by a sudden loss of form. And she featured heavily in NBC's pre-Olympic promotional video and advertisement, so she's under enormous pressure to deliver.
I can imagine, like for any of the athletes who've been expecting the day for so long, like every 4 years for one
Exactly.
Olympic, right? So I know you've watched the game as well.
I did.
So what do you think of this sort of like crashing out for athletes on this type of competitions?
Oh yes, Magella, no question, is still the best the athlete in this program. And I do think there are many, many reasons contributed to that, because alpine skiing, well, many factors will affect the performance of the athlete. For example, as far as I know, that Magella Schifrin has been suffering from the very supportive family member loss. So he's been soaring for quite a while, and
Right.
in last year, she got caught by the COVID-19, so she tried to recover for a while, so she quitted the training. So all these factors affected her. And also you're going to see in the field, well, that weather for that day actually is quite good, But while seeing this, the resort, the ski resort, is actually very complicated. It's very hard. It's 3 kilometers long with a vertical drop of more than 1,000 kilometers. This is very, very sharp.
Right.
And very, very steep. And you're seeing he chose a very bold tactic. So he wanted to go through the shortest route. So with the shortest route, you have the largest speed.
Right.
So when she tried to go through the Fisk Gates, and she lost control because you have to make the judgment within 0.1 second. So should I go to this fast route or safe route? So she chose the fastest route, but she hesitated because probably even if there is just an ice cube in your coffee cup, and then with that kind of little disturbance, and you probably will lose your balance. So she lost a little bit of balance. So she tried to push further, carve deeper with a ski board. So go to a switch for a safer route.
I see.
She lost the control because the velocity is so high. And then she tried to reverse the balance until the next gate. But by that time, the inertia is too big and she fell. This is actually very, very normal, even though she's the top player in this field, but things happen. Not only to her, to many, many people. It's like this.
Yeah, especially in such a short time, you have to make sort of like instant decisions what to go next, right?
Yes.
And also it's a very challenging and risky sports, I would say.
Yes, I've been experiencing such a kind of a moment. I can tell you, there's no time for the reaction. There's no time for the thinking.
You just go with
I just go with the power.
Yes.
Go with the initiative.
Exactly. Well, Zhichen, are you still with us?
Yeah.
Do you have any?
Yes, no. Yes, adding to
ahead.
that, she had a turbulent run up to the Olympics. She suffered a back injury in November and then contracted COVID-19 in December, and all the test events ahead of the Olympics were cancelled due to the pandemic. So she's not had a great preparation, and I think his father's death in 2020 also has an huge impact on her. I remember after Monday's races, she told us in the mixed zone that she really liked to call his dad, but she cannot do that, and she's very sad his father is not there to support her. So I think it's really a great factor affecting his performance.
And also, I think.
For now, yes.
Go
you say?
ahead. Go ahead.
But for now, Schifrin will look ahead to Friday's Super G, which she won at the World Championships. She will also competing Tuesday's downhill and next week's Alpine Combined, which is she's favored to win. So she still has a chance to bounce back.
Yeah, what I was just going to say is that's just sort of the representation of Olympic spirit, I would say. Even though athletes have went through hard times, they have had their injuries, they have coped with the COVID-19 pandemic, but they still made it to the competition venue. I think that's the win already.
Yeah, I just watched athlete from Venezuela. The country was 0 snow, and that guy, his skiing skill probably is worse than mine.
Right.
I dare just say that because she probably never practiced on the real snow before.
Right.
But we still adore him as a hero.
Yeah.
He's a true representation of the Olympic spirit.
Yeah, and also that's the beauty of sports.
Exactly.
All right, Zhicheng, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us online. I hope you will have great time there.
Okay, see you later.
See you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Alrighty, that's my colleague who's currently at the Yanqing zone, brought us the latest, and he's shared some of his thoughts of the Winter Olympics. And now we are gonna go to Jessica Zhao, a junior student from Tsinghua University, who is among thousands of volunteers at the games. Hello, Jessica. How are you?
Hello, good. How are you?
I'm good. You look good. You're on your volunteer outfit.
Yes, I am.
I've heard you guys made a very beautiful paper Latin to the president of IOC, Thomas Bach. Tell us about the story. Did he like it?
Yeah, I certainly hope that he liked it. It was a very, very interesting experience. I was tasked to create a handmade gift for a very important IOC member. And our time was really tight. We had to finish this gift within a week of notice. And so I knew I need to get help, and I asked my other friends who are also volunteering in the Winter Olympics to help me out with this gift mission. And to my surprise, and I was also very touched by it, that everyone who I asked agreed to join me very promptly upon being asked. And so we had this little group of little gift making team, and we started talking about what we wanted to create because it was a very open task. And we knew we wanted to make something that would showcase unique characteristics of Chinese culture and also of the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics. And we ended up deciding to go with a 3D paper carving lamp. And it was a very ambitious idea, especially given the very short amount of time we have, but we thought it would be the idea that would best achieve our goals. And so we made this paper carving lamp with designs of mountain ranges from the very famous painting by Wang Mengxi, 1,000 Miles of Rivers and Mountains, as the uniting element. And we placed iconic Chinese architecture and Winter Olympic venues among the mountain ranges, such as the Great Wall, of course, Temple of Heaven, we have Shougang, National Ski Jumping Center, the National Stadium, and the Ice Cube, and etc. And then we have the Olympic rings cast upon on the back of the sky, and our very much beloved Ding Dun Dun and Xu Ronglong up in the front, enjoying the winter sports. And we framed the whole image with white jasmine, which represents the beginning of spring solar term. That's also when the opening ceremony was held. And we also placed Chinese red bud around, which represents Tsinghua University. And yeah, it was a very, very memorable experience, as on the last day, all 9 of us gathered in a classroom to hand carve each layer of the paper carving lamp. And we were happy to deliver the gift in a quality that we're happy with. And I definitely hope that President Bach felt the hospitality coming from the gifts.
Sounds like a very big project. I know you are also crazed about winter sports, especially alpine skiing. So can you tell us how it all gets started?
Yeah, I started skiing at like 3 or 4 years old, so it's been a very long time, a long journey, and I absolutely enjoyed it. As we've talked about already before, how the speed is extremely thrilling and adrenaline rush is just very, very addictive. Just the feeling of gliding and flying over snow, and to feel the control I have on my boards, like even the slightest muscle movement could change a lot. And it's definitely a very, very addictive sport in that regard. And also the feeling of improving with every run I do. Like every time I go skiing, I feel the improvements. And also it's really alpine skiing really is a sport that brings me into nature even in winter. Like winter is not just unbearable cold anymore, since I grew up mostly in the north. It really gives me a chance to connect with nature even during winter, and I'm really grateful for how it really brings me into nature. And another thing that like really I started noticing more, especially after coming back to China to ski, is the uniting power of this sport. I feel like I've met a lot of interesting people and got into a lot of amazing communities through this sport.
Yeah, as I was just going to ask, since you are now studying and living in China, in Beijing, so have you sort of like seen the growing trend for the crazing for the winter sports, since, Beijing is one of the host cities for the games?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because I grew up both in Beijing and in the U.S. And we started skiing a long time ago in Beijing as well. And I definitely see very, very immense growth in terms of winter sports, especially in terms of skiing in Beijing. When we were younger, there were definitely a lot less choices of skiing resorts in Beijing, and not to mention transportation or the infrastructure is a lot less isn't nearly as good as how it is right now. And especially in the recent years, after coming back to Tsinghua for my undergrad, I'm seeing a lot of growth in all aspects. For example, transportation's made a lot easier, a lot more accessible to us to ski. Like the very famous Nanshan Resort in Beijing now has a shuttle that runs right from our school to the resort, and it really makes it very easy for us to go skiing on the weekends. And we've also been going to Chongli to ski over the past multiple years, and we're seeing a lot of growth in Chongli as well, how the town developed, especially after Beijing won the bid of Winter Olympics 2022. We saw resorts just sprouting everywhere throughout the town, and ski resorts, they're hosting a lot of really fun events and classes at the resorts. And again, transportation is made a lot easier now. It only takes like an hour to get to Chongli instead of driving through the heavy snow. And I'm also witnessing a lot more of my friends getting involved in winter sports. We're talking all the time about going skiing together. A lot of friends I made during the volunteering process, we already made plans to go ski together after we come out of the closed loop. But yeah, I'm definitely witnessing a lot of growth in China. I'm really touched by how the Olympic event is bringing a lot more people out into nature in winter, onto snow, and into these winter sports.
And any other competitions you are going to keep an eye on for the rest of the games?
Yeah, like today I'm excited to watch the Alpine Combined. I'm excited to see the Chinese athletes Yanqing Zhang and Mingfu Xu, and I'm also excited for the U.S. athlete Ryan Cochran-Spiegel, who just won the silver medal, and I'm really excited to see their performances.
All right, thank you, Jessica. Hope you had a great time with your volunteer experience at the Winter Olympics.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. See you later. Well, so since Jessica has also mentioned that she has seen a growing trend, especially in Beijing, for this craze for winter sports, and I'm sure you've heard and you might be familiar with, China has pushed a 5-year plan to sort of like reach the goal of over 300 million people, or practice or get on the winter sports. Do you have any insights to share with us in terms of the plan?
Oh yes, China actually it's a late developer of the Winter Games. As far as even though China is a large country, but still in only limited territory we have snow. So
right.
Which makes, if you want more people to join this game, they have to fly to the snow yard and they have to buy equipment. So it's become a little bit more expensive. Mm-hmm. So this sport actually become popular in the past 10 years or at most 15 years. So we're still a late developer. So China want to catch up, and you're going to see young people really loves it. We call it white opium.
Right.
So you really get addicted to the sport, and with more and more young people, young athletes join this game, China will do better and better in this game. And you're seeing right now many X generation and millennials, they're joining us. You're seeing the Chinese athletes actually average age are really young, mm-hmm. But we see this as a good time and a good sign, because we see this sport is budding, and then it's going to mushrooming, and then it's going to explode and become a very large thing in China.
Yeah, especially besides the sort of helping young generations to get on the winter sports, China has also pouring a big amount of money in terms of winter sports infrastructures.
Oh yeah. Oh, exactly. If you take a look at the Chinese ski resort, you will find they're top world class, and their fees are really affordable. Mm-hmm. So more young people and other tourists from other countries can join us. And the equipment are world class, and we have many good ski resorts in Beijing, and also in Hebei, in Zhangjiakou, and also in Xinjiang, and also in Inner Mongolia and in northeastern China. Join us. You're going to see beautiful view, kind people, and also the top service in a ski resort.
Yeah, and then I do have a couple of figures on hand I want to share with you guys. So in 2014, only 460 ski resorts in China, but by the end of 2019, that number had jumped to 644. And then currently there are more than 800 indoors and outdoor ski resorts in China, and that has set measures that has set measures to 3,500 kilometers and amount to 100 million square meters. Wow, cities of over 500,000 inhabitants have been encouraged to create new rinks by upgrading existing facilities or building new ones. I guess in the near future, not only people who live in the northern part of China, but also southern part of China will also enjoy the opportunity to practice games. Like
if you go to southern cities in China, like in Shenzhen and Shanghai, well, they don't quite have any snow in there. But if you go to their indoor stadium of the skiing and the skating, you're going to be amazed. It's such a huge, humongous place and full of artificial snows and ice. And you see so many kids and young people skiing there. Wow, you'll be amazed by that view.
And especially with the Chinese Olympic medalist Eileen Gu, who has just acclaimed one medal at the women's free ski at the Big Air yesterday. I feel like a lot of young generations here in China will look up to her. Like, I hope she could sort of like bridge the enthusiasms for more young generations to come and join or at least to try some of the winter sports. But speaking of athletes or celebrities in sports, what are the most famous athletes in alpine skiing event, and who and how is Team China, you think?
Well, I think Magella is really my girl. I really, really adore her. Probably you don't dig it so deep into this game, but if you know how good she is, you will forget what she has lost this game.
I see.
You see her performance in Pyeongchang. It's like a goddess on the ski resort. And also, I really love Chinese athlete Xu Mingfu. Well, he actually ranked 36 in this game, but you have to understand he only have a very, very limited time and a year practice in this game.
Right.
His experience is limited, and he jumped very, very quickly into the ranking in the past 4 years. And you're seeing this young man really got a great potential. I'm not thinking the champion's only thing matters, but the spirit and the potential, and those things really inspire you.
As you mentioned, Magella Schifrin is your girl.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, how do you feel after seeing her tripped over at the fifth turn?
Well,
yesterday.
Things happens, as I mentioned. If you go to the ski yard, if you do the alpine skiing yourself, you will immediately understand how hard that is. Well, it does not only happen to her. And that game, her game, at least I remember three athletes hasn't been finishing their games.
So is it common to see athletes fail in this sort of competitions?
Very, very easy. Well, you will lose your quality if you fail. You will lose your quality if you miss one gate. And all this mistake or disqualification only happens within 0.5 or even 0.1 second. It's beyond the limit of human. You cannot think that fast because your electricity within your brain only pass through all your nerves at least within 0.3 seconds. So you have to do a lot of thinkings by your own natural reflex, by your instinct. This is really, really difficult. So I'm not surprised, even though I feel a little bit, regret, but I'm not surprised. This is something normal. I hope, Magella, you can just forget about it and carry on. There are many, many championships waiting for you.
Oh, that's a warm words, messages to her. And I know, sports like this could be affected by various factors, as you and both my colleagues mentioned. So what is the most significant factor could have influenced all these results, you think?
Well, if you're talking about the factor, I think weather. Weather is the biggest enemy of all. We have a saying, if you are doing or hosting any alpine skiing without being delayed by the weather, it's not a real alpine skiing. So sometimes we're going to have the turbulence of the wind. Sometimes it blows in this direction, sometimes it goes that direction. So that will be unfair for each of the athletes. And sometimes the wind is so strong. We're talking about very, very high mountains and in the northern places. And the northwest wind can be really something, putting on your face, coming at your face. Sometimes you cannot even look at the things very straight. So weather is the enemy, and also your own performances, your spiritual performances, and the quality of your physical quality. And you're suffering from the 3G or 4G kind of a velocity. It's great power pushing on the physical, tolerance. And your ankle, basically you're using your ankle, your feet, and your pelvic joints to take that kind of a push. And if you're not professionally trained, only one push, can just harm you. Every year you're going to see, after the game, you'll see many of the surgery they're basically doing on your bone, on your ligaments. So it's been hurting those athletes a lot. And even as an amateur, player, and we also see lots of injuries like this before.
I know. Well, the bobsleigh is also have been held at the Yanqing zone, right?
Yes, exactly.
Do you familiar with that as well?
Oh yeah. Bobsleigh is actually like, we call this F1 formula,
right,
on the ice. This are so fast. They're basically the average speed when you are doing the bobsleigh is like more than 140 kilometers per hour, or even highest can be more than 160 kilometers per hour. This is even faster than you're driving a car, and you're only doing this with a very tiny sleigh.
Yeah, and it's a teamwork.
As a teamwork, and with 4 or 2 people jump into that sleigh, and you're driving that fast, and everything is controlled manually. So you consider how exciting is that, and how dangerous is that?
Well, exactly how exciting and how dangerous is that? Let's take a quick look at a 1-minute explainer of what bobsleigh is.
It's about to go down. Speed. Here are some cool facts about luge, skeleton, and bobsled. The distinctions between the three include the types of the sled and how the athletes navigate their run. Skeleton appeared in the Olympics in 1928 and 1948, but it was removed for a period of time for being too extreme until 2002. Bobsled became an Olympic event in 1924 and luge was added in 1964. Let me show you. Luge begins with the racer lying on his or her back on a flat sled. Feet first, and then they will pull himself or herself forward to start the run. While that skeleton is similar to luge sled instead. Lying face down, head first, when using a slightly modified sled. Bobsled is a little different. It's a team sport in a 2-man and 4-man variety. It has to be pushed for up to 50 meters before the crew jumps in for the rest of the ride down the course. Imagine sliding in a small car with runners at the bottom that help propel it down the icy course. It involves a mechanism that steers the sled that can be controlled by the driver. Besides skills, the velocity of this sport much depends on the sled's initial velocity. Bobsled is known as Formula 1 on ice. It's already wrecking my nerves sliding down from a mini slope like this. Well, the venues at the Yanqing competition zone is the first of its kind in the world with a 360-degree turn. Strength, flexibility, and kinesthetic awareness are important for athletes participating in these sports. A feel for the performance on a sled is also important and requires years of practice to master it for sliding. For the Olympic medalists, they even know the right time to inhale and exhale during the race. It might sound a bit cheesy here, but to win a sledding race, one must be relaxed as much as possible, meaning limit traction from unnecessary moves and adjustment. This is a competition of time and speed. All sliding events will take place at the Yanqing National Sliding Center, located northwest of the Chinese capital. It's in a mountainous area, giving the velocity and length for the turns. Before I go on to enjoy my slide, stay tuned on CGTN to see who takes home the gold on the sleds. Bye for now!
And we know, both the Chinese national team, Team China, has also participated in both bobsled and luge. So how are the experience of Team China?
Well, they're doing good. actually, China has been doing quite well in the skeleton, and for the bobsleigh and the luge, China is still trying to catch up. In China, we don't quite have the professional athletes in the three projects before. So a fun thing is that many of the athletes in these three projects actually have been switched from the track and the field. Ooh. Well, if you understand how it performed, how they played, you will see this is actually a reasonable choice.
Okay,
so
can you provide some details?
Oh yeah, for sure. For example, if you want to do the bobsleigh, so you're going to see the team members just to push the sleigh to go forward, and they have to sprint and push. And guess who? What kind of athlete is doing this kind of movement the best? Yes, the track and field athlete. And they can sprint very fast, and they have the power in the upper body. So and also when you're doing the skeleton and also doing the luge, sometimes when you try to start, there's a handle in the starting line, and then you have to wiggle. You have to wiggle back on the force and use your arm force just to push forward yourself. And I guess who's doing this better? Track and field athlete.
Track and field, yes.
Right?
Okay.
So many of the Chinese athletes actually has been switched from the track and field.
I think the difference is probably are the conditions.
Oh yeah.
One is literally on the field.
Yes.
The other one is either on the ice or.
Well, power is just one factor for sure. When you start, power and the speed of your body is the decisive matter. But when you get on the sleigh, when you try to sled, and then many other factors kicked in. For example, you have to make very quick judgment for the speed, how you turn, how you cut into the route, and how you balance the weight. But remember, there are 4 people or 2 people on that sleigh, and then you are driving at 150 kilometers per hour at that high speed. And even there's a little bit disturbance on the distribution of your weight, and then the whole sleigh will just fall over. It's very dangerous.
I know.
So you have to make very delicate balance and the decision very quickly.
How about the developed bobsleigh during the Olympics that being used by Team China?
Oh yeah, I'm glad you asked that. A lot of people say, hey, this looks like a kid's play. It's just like what we did when we were a kid, right? On the ice, on the snow, and using a sleigh. But actually it's more than that. Do you know that the technology to build that bobsleigh is actually only be mastered by a few countries. The whole body of the sleigh has been made by the carbon fiber, and you have to test the aerodynamics of the whole sleigh in the wind tunnel. And this kind of technology is very, very hard to master. The wind tunnel, for example, only the airplane builders have the technology.
I see.
America, Canada, Japan, China, well, become a few countries just to master this technology and minified. We used to have very big wind tunnel for the airplane, but you have to do the minified the tunnels for the sleigh, and also carbon fiber too.
Right. So it's not easy to build one, I guess.
Oh yes. I think this is high tech, but also very lucrative.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll see a Chinese-made bobsleigh in other winter games as well. Do you think that's possible?
Oh yeah, it's very possible. I'm hoping that in the future people, when they say, wow, who made the best of bobsleigh, they will say
Made in China.
Made in China.
All right, thank you so much for joining us today. We had a really nice chat. I've learned a lot of knowledges I've never heard before from you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks to our viewers as well. I'm about to wrapping up our live streaming today, but we will be bringing you guys all the latest every day, starting from the 4th till the 20th. And also, I want to shout out to our biggest not sponsor. I want to shout out to all the companies who have helped make our live streaming available. One is China Academy of Railway Science Corporation Limited and China Railway Jinsent Technology Company Limited. Shout out to these two, and thank you guys again. Hope to see you guys soon. Bye.
Tomorrow we'll see a total of 8 gold medals up for grabs. And men's singles figure skating and women's snowboarding halfpipe will kick off in the morning. And defending champion Yuzuru Hanyu has been trying for years to conquer the quadruple axel jump, also known as the 4A. The Japanese said in a recent interview that he will give this much anticipated jump a strong go during the free skating competition. Can he really do it? We shall see. 3 more goals will be generated in men's alpine combined slalom, cross-country skiing, women's 10 kilometers, and men's snowboard cross in the afternoon. In addition, freestyle skiing mixed team aerials, speed skating women's 5,000 meters, and luge team relay will unfold in the evening. The world will get to witness the Olympic debut of mixed team aerials event in freestyle skiing, and Team China, led by Xu Mengtao, could secure the first Olympic gold medal in this event. So again, a lot to look forward to.